There are cases that stay with you not because of what we know, but because of everything we still don't. Tonight, we revisit one of the most talked about disappearances of the last 2 decades. A case that began as a family vacation on the southern coast of Portugal and turned into an international mystery with more questions than answers. This is the story of Madeleine McCann. And if you think you've heard everything already, you probably haven't heard it like this. Some investigations start loud. This one started quiet. A quiet resort town, a quiet May evening, a quiet apartment where a 3-year-old girl was supposed to be asleep, tucked between her siblings, safe inside the 4 walls her parents trusted. But in apartment 5A, on the night of May 3rd, 2007, something happened that would echo across the world. Praia da Luz wasn't a place people associated with crime. It was a place families chose for warm beaches, calm streets, and late dinners under white patio lights. A town where everything felt predictable. The McCanns arrived with a group of close friends' parents with kids, all following the same loose vacation rhythm. Breakfast, beach, pool, kids' club, dinner. Nothing unusual. Nothing remotely alarming. On May 3rd, the adults planned another relaxed evening at the tapas bar inside the Ocean Club Resort, a spot close enough they believed that they could take turns checking on the children sleeping in the nearby apartments. They had done it before. It had worked before, until the night it didn't. Around 8:30 p.m., the children were put to bed. Madeleine, her younger brother, her younger sister, all in the same small room. A bedtime routine polished by repetition. By 9 p.m., the adults were seated at the restaurant. Their table had a direct view of the walkway leading back to the apartments. They were comfortable enough to settle in, confident in the idea that their kids were safe. And then came the interval checks. 9:05 p.m., 9:20 p.m., 9:30 p.m. Everything seemed normal, at least on the surface. What no one knew at the time was that the timeline would become one of the most heavily dissected and debated elements of the entire case. Every minute, every sighting, every assumption. When Kate McCann returned to check on the children shortly after 10 p.m., she sensed something was off before she reached the bedroom. The door wasn't how she left it. She pushed it open. The window was open. The shutter was raised. The curtains were fluttering, and Madeleine, the oldest child, was gone. Those seconds between realizing something was wrong and understanding what it meant still haunt every retelling of this case. Kate searched the apartment, then the walkway, then the pool area, then the restaurant. Within minutes, panic replaced routine. Friends scattered. Resort staff alerted others. Guests stepped out onto balconies and pathways, calling her name. The quiet night was gone. Local police arrived roughly an hour later, and this is where the story begins to slip away from any clean explanations. The apartment wasn't sealed. People walked freely in and out. Neighbors tried to help. Tourists offered opinions. Nothing was photographed the way it should have been. It wasn't treated like a potential abduction. Not yet. The first few hours of any missing child case are critical. In Praia da Luz, those hours were lost to confusion. Witness statements contradicted one another. descriptions were inconsistent. Officials weren't aligned on what they believed happened. And in that early fog, the chance to preserve evidence dissolved. As journalists arrived and the story broke across Europe, the case split into several competing theories. The stranger abduction theory. Some believed a predator targeted the resort, watching, waiting, acting with speed and confidence. There were claims of suspicious men in the area earlier in the week, a handful of alleged sightings, footsteps described but never identified, a man carrying a child reported by one witness, walking away from the resort. But none of it led anywhere concrete. The burglary theory. Another theory suggested a burglary interrupted by a waking child, but there was no clear evidence of forced entry, and nothing was stolen. The parents as suspects theory. This one fueled a media firestorm. Portuguese authorities, frustrated by the lack of progress, shifted focus to Kate and Gary McCann themselves. A theory built on inconsistencies, assumptions, and a growing cultural clash between British press coverage and local police speculation. Eventually, the parents were cleared, but the public damage lingered, turning a desperate family into polarized symbols overnight. The local sighting theory. A handful of witnesses later claimed they saw a child matching Madeleine's description in nearby towns, even across the border in Spain and Morocco. Each lead sparked hope, then disappointment. By the summer of 2007, this was no longer a local investigation. The story dominated CNN, BBC, Sky News. It appeared on U.S. morning shows, late-night programs, crime specials. Even the FBI reviewed case materials. Millions of people watched the updates, every photo, every press conference, every statement. The image of Madeleine, especially the digitally aged versions, became one of the most recognized missing child images in the world. Money poured into private investigations. Teams cycled in and out. Volunteer groups searched fields, wells, ravines, abandoned buildings. People wanted answers, but the ground kept shifting. At this point, investigators from multiple countries had reached one frustrating conclusion. The timeline didn't make sense. Too many overlapping check-ins, too many reported sightings, too much movement around the resort that couldn't be verified. When timelines fracture, motives and opportunities fracture with them. And in this case, they fractured completely. In 2011, nearly 4 years after Madeleine vanished, the UK launched Operation Grange, a full-scale re-examination of the case. Detectives traveled to Portugal, questioned witnesses again, reinterpreted old files, and revisited the resort's original layout. For a moment, it looked like clarity might finally emerge. It didn't. Every promising lead dissolved. Every potential suspect fell away. Every media headline faded almost as fast as it appeared. More than a decade later, Praia da Luz looks almost the same. The same narrow streets, the same church tower, the same apartment buildings overlooking the Atlantic. But to this day, Apartment 5A still feels like a wound that never healed. Neighbors remember the search parties. Resort workers remember overhearing the shouts, the calls, the cries. Journalists remember how impossible it was to separate rumor from fact. And parents everywhere still remember the sinking feeling of realizing if a child can vanish from a room with siblings sleeping feet away, it can happen anywhere. Police in Portugal and the UK continue to review forensic data, old witness statements, and cross-border activity from that night. From time to time, a new development grabs international attention, usually for a few days before dissolving into speculation. There is still no confirmed timeline, no verified sighting, no physical evidence explaining what happened. Just a question that refuses to end. How does a child disappear without a trace in a place full of people, in a moment measured in minutes? Some cases go quiet over time. This one won't. Not because of the cameras or the headlines or the theories, but because somewhere someone holds the missing piece of the story. And until that piece surfaces, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann remains one of the most haunting open cases in modern American true crime. A case suspended between what we know, what we think we know, and everything we still can't explain. You've been listening to True Crime Tales with WM, where we don't chase mysteries, we trace the places where answers disappear. Next time, another story, another question the world has never been able to solve.